Yep, go ahead.
Okay, I want to call the meeting to order. Start with roll call. Brian Jones.
Here.
Nancy Manson.
Here.
Jeff Bittner.
Here.
Christina Shark.
Here.
Jeremy Weller.
Here.
Morgan Brown.
Here.
David Wobber is here. I have the adoption of the agenda and declaration of a quorum. Looking for a motion.
Motion to accept. Jones.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, Brian Jones,
Yes.
Nancy Manson,
Yes.
Jeff Bittner,
Yes.
Christina Shark,
Yes.
Jeremy Weller,
Yes.
Morgan Brown,
Yes.
and David Wildbrenner is a yes. So we have a couple of action items. First action item, accrued vacation payout. I think all of you, we had this on our meeting last time, should be familiar with this.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a quick minute here. I don't want to take a bunch of time. But I just wanted to let everybody know why I did what I did at the last meeting, tabling that. It wasn't motivated out of malice or pettiness. I just wanted some clarification on the 73 days and how we got there, because I didn't know how it was possible. So I asked Terry and John to forward us the previous contracts, which they did. So thank you, John. As I'm sure some of you noticed, she's only contractually been able to carry days for 2 years of her previous contracts. So at 20 days a year, that's a total possible of 40 days. So that's why I didn't know how we got to 73. In John's email, he said he remembered some discussion on Nicole being allowed to carry forward 35 days into her 2018 contract, which that would have meant she was allowed to carry days clear back from 2016, which if that's the case, that's the case. It seemed kind of weird to me. So I reached out to the 2 current board members that were on the board back when that happened, because the district office doesn't seem to have any record of it. There's no meeting minutes showing where that was talked about or approved. So I reached out to Jeff and Nancy. Jeff was honest enough to say he just doesn't remember one way or another. Could have happened, might not have. He just wasn't sure. Nancy, on the other hand, told me that it doesn't matter what she remembers. She said the only thing that matters is the 2019 contract that was signed, and that any previous contracts are irrelevant, and that the tenets of contract interpretation are clear. Parties are bound by clear and unequivocal language, which I thought was a weird response to a pretty simple question. But for the record, I agree with her 100%. Parties are bound by clear and unequivocal language in contracts, which is why I'm confused on why we're asking for more than 40 days to be paid out here. The language of all of her contracts before 2018 stated clearly and unequivocally that she was required to use that vacation time in the year. There's no mention in any contract, current or previous, of 35 bonus days of vacation being gifted or grandfathered in. And in my mind, you can't have it both ways. Either it's in the contract or it's not. You know, this morning we're being asked to pay a full teacher's salary and vacation compensation to an employee who has extended benefits that are light years ahead of what any other employee of this district would ever be afforded. And we're supposed to approve it without asking any questions or doing any checking, which I think is wrong. Personally, I think that not asking those questions is an insult to every teacher that almost had their 2 measly personal days not be compensated to help with the district budget. We had no problem being asked to rescind that obligation, but this one apparently is above question. So absent any further documentation or proof or meeting minutes about it, I don't know how we can vote to approve it. But I also realize that not approving it's just gonna end us up in court. So you have to weigh the cost of fighting it versus the cost of just paying it out and moving on. So, you know, I understand that, I get it. I'm just disappointed in the entire process of how we got here. So that's all I have to say. I'm ready to vote.
Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Dave, is our only option the whole 75? That's what's been put before us. I mean, to Morgan's point, are we Can we just do what's been presented in the contract we have?
Try to move you closer, Nancy.
Yeah, that would be a question for legal. I don't know that. Sorry, did you say Nancy have a comment?
She was just having trouble hearing.
Oh,
I have no idea what the discussion just was.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve it just so we can vote on it.
Nancy, did you hear that?
No,
Morgan Brown made a motion to approve.
okay,
looking for a second.
you have a second.
We're looking for a second.
I'll second.
Nancy
So
seconds.
it's the motion to pay for the total amount, right?
The motion is to approve the accrued vacation payout as presented on the agenda, which is the same one from the last meeting.
Is it too late for me to ask a question?
Nope.
Hang on. No, hang on one sec. So I have a motion and a second. Yeah, now you can further discussion.
Okay. Morgan, I appreciate your comments and you're right. I simply don't remember, and I don't know what was talked about in closed session versus not. And that's, I'm sorry. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of verbiage, but I mean, I guess could possibly go back and try to look at minutes, but can this board be doing something maybe not above board without a good faith investigation into doing something that wasn't stated in a contract? I mean, I don't know. You understand my question?
Yeah, Jeff, I'll give you the comment or a comment based on the contract language that I can see, and we can forward it off for further review if needed. But the contract language that Morgan, you referred to in the prior contracts is correct, that it did not specifically, it requested or required that the superintendent take the vacation, but there was a caveat in there that grazed the area, and I'm just going to find that to share that with the board. It would have been in the contracts that came through the attachment, but the one piece is vacation shall be taken in the year earned and not accumulated beyond June 30th of each year unless approved by the board. So that statement there is the piece that the minutes don't show that, but the discussion of the superintendent contract would have been taken in closed session, and those minutes are recorded and then disposed after a year. So we would have a hard time finding that discussion from 2017 that talked about whether or not the board granted an approval to carry forward a vacation. That's the piece that is the gray area, maybe, that doesn't provide us a clear understanding of if that carry forward was granted, because the board had the power to do so.
Well, and if we don't have proof that it was granted, then which direction are we supposed to go? Now, that's my question. So maybe we need to table this for legal advice.
It's a good question, but I'm going to make a comment. And
Okay.
I'm not saying this is accurate, not accurate. It's pure speculation. But you're dealing also with a board. There could have been talk about it in closed session. Could have been minor. Could have been talk possibly with the board president at that time. That could have made comments that could have, included that, or maybe included the district in on something. I'm not saying that's what happened by any means. But ultimately, to lead to a contract change that happened in that 18, 19, 19, 20 to ensure that 75 days, someone must have had discussion with the superintendent, whether it was the whole board, part of the board, whatever, to allow that and the reason for doing it. That's the hard part. You have no recorded minutes that you can use. You'd be asking a board member, hey, did you remember this? Did you say that? And once again, that's what you're left with, is somebody trying to recall what they remember from a couple of years ago.
But do we have a fiduciary responsibility to not approve something, we don't have proof of that's shown in a contract. Like Morgan said, she's only, it only said so many days, and we don't have, I guess, the proof to say that we should do more than that. And we're in charge of spending money.
Oh, believe me, I think this whole thing was very poorly done. In the cleanest way possible. Days should have been paid off at the end of that year if that was going to be the case. I just don't think carrying over 75 days in a contract was a smart move at all. You literally are giving that employee the potential to take over 3 months of vacation in 1 year. If there's going to be paid out, it should have been paid out at the end of the year, kind of a use it or lose it, or let them carry over a week or 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not where we're at. I don't know, what that's going to look like. And I don't disagree with you. And I'm, I don't want to pay this out either because of the contract. But on the flip side, if the superintendent was told something, in closed session or not in closed session or whatever, that's going to be a hard one to argue.
Dave, I got a question. So if the conversation took place with the board member, or if it took place with the previous president, and they okayed it, do you pretty much lose that right there because of that, or?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to weigh in. I'm not going to weigh in on legal stuff. I don't know that answer. I guess my point is, if the superintendent were told, you need to use these vacations or you're going to lose them, my guess is, or they needed to pay them out right then. That's the reason for the change in the contract. Was, well, we'll just roll them over. We'll just keep rolling them over. So there had to have been some discussion at some point in time. Otherwise, that contract wouldn't have been changed 2 years ago.
The other point we have is that the district records of the vacation records show that those days were granted a carry forward. So the district's vacation leave records are going to show the data that the board has showing the 73.91 days that the carry forward was allowed. The system brought those days forward. So that's another piece that supports that. So it may be difficult to say it's not allowed if the district records show that those days are there.
It's a good point, John. Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or concerns? All right. If not, we have a motion to approve. I'm going to take roll call. Brian Jones? No. Nancy Manson?
Yes.
Jeff Bittner?
No.
Christina Shark?
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
Oh. Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
Morgan Brown? Oh my God.
So stupid.
No.
It was no.
Yeah, no.
All right, David Wabrenner is yes, so it's a 4-3. The motion does not carry.
You realize now that we can suffer attorney fees if she decides to take this to court. I mean, or go to the Department of Labor. That is my statement to you, is that you realize this could very easily cost the district much more than what you were going to do, but whatever you decide, that's your right as a board. but I want you to know that I'm dissenting.
Do we have the option, John or Dave, to make another motion to pay out the 40 hours that we can find in writing that's been approved?
Well, technically, we do have a board meeting, a regular scheduled board meeting on July 13th. I mean, we can put an agenda item at that point to do that, which was originally what we were going to do, but since we wanted to have a meeting to get the new superintendent contract formally approved, that's why we put it in here. But we could have some discussion and try and get as much information as we can between now and July 13th. And this could go back on the agenda, you know, in one fashion or another, if everybody's good with that.
I'm fine with that.
If we get some,
State Code 91A, point 3, I believe, maybe it's point 4, says that she has to be paid. And technically, it was supposed to be July 5th. That is state code. So you realize that the longer we extend this, the more information she has to be able to say they are not following state chapter law. But, you know, the longer you wait, the more money it's going to cost you, or cost the district, I should say.
Well, I disagree because it's a messy situation. It's not clear. If it was clear and she was asking for 40 days, I would have approved it at the first meeting. I think all of us are trying to work to get to the bottom of it and figure out what we legally can do and make sure that we're not getting ourselves in trouble by paying more than we should.
And my comment on that.
Like I said, none of this is out of malice or pettiness. I just want to make sure that we're paying the right amount.
Exactly. And I'm on the same page, but we also have a responsibility to the taxpayers. You know, if they're saying, wait, do you have the proof to spend my money? And I'm not sure we have that. And
Right.
That's what bothers me.
Yes, that's true, but you also have a responsibility to the taxpayer that if you lose this, it could cost you much more because she's going to, if you lose this case, if the district loses this case, they are going to pay court costs, they are going to pay her attorney fees, they are going to pay her 57, whatever the amount was, 75 or whatever amount of money, and she can collect damages.
Well, I guess, Nancy, I would rather hear that from a legal advice, those assumptions, unless you already have done that.
Then I suggest that the district can talk to an attorney and make sure that that is correct. I'm just saying to you that for me, this shows that the district is not being fiscally responsible, but the board does whatever they want to do. That's fine. I will go along with the board decision. I just want you to know that I'm dissenting with the board decision, and I want that on record so that when it comes back, it shows that this was not a unanimous decision on wasting district money.
so up to you guys, if you want, I will make a phone call to Gayla, and if you want, I can get her some information, get an opinion, and then forward that back to you when I get, you know, what she thinks.
I agree. I think Morgan's term that this is messy, and I am nowhere close to having any kind of a legal opinion. I don't know that much. That's why we have attorneys, and I will defer to the advice of our attorney.
I agree. If she says, yeah, you owe it, you better pay it, I have no problem paying it, but I'd like to hear that opinion.
And then I can explain that to the people that might question it.
Right.
That's fine, except the problem is the timeline, the time is passed. But
Well, it's hard to prove damages. I don't know how she's being damaged by her payment being delayed a week.
I missed that last comment.
So everybody fine with that until, and then I'll let you know what I find out.
Yes.
Okay.
I disagree with the discussion, is all I'm gonna say, is what I want on record. I disagree with the discussion. It should have been done.
Yeah, we get it, Nancy. We get it.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay.
I disagree too, but let's move on.
Correct. Something, yes. So we have an item number 2 action item, which is approving the current Superintendent Mike McGrory's contract. We've technically approved it to offer him, but just to make it formal and everybody actually has a copy of it. So full disclosure. So looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the contract as presented.
Second, Bittner.
Who are we give? I heard Brian Jones start talking first. Does that work?
Yeah, well, Brian and Morgan and Jeff. So yeah, Brian might have got his out before Morgan.
I want to do Brian and then Mr. Bittner's, Dr. Bittner second.
That sounds fine.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor, Brian Jones? Nancy Manson?
Yes.
Jeff Bittner?
Yes.
Christina Shark?
Yes.
Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
Morgan Brown?
Yes.
And Dave Wabner is a yes. So that's the last item. I will get back in touch when I know something. And John, I'll probably reach out to you too to get some information so we can get that sent over.
Sounds good.
Okay, need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved, Brown.
Second, Bittner.
All in favor, Brian Jones? Nancy Manson?
Yes.
Jeff Bittner?
Yes.
Christina Shark?
Yes.
Jeremy Weller?
Yes.
Morgan Brown?
Yes.
And Dave Wabner's yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good 4th.
Thank you.
Yep, bye.